Yes, greetings, my brothers and sisters. Welcome back after a very, very long break. We've been absent from YouTube for about, I don't know, maybe 2 months. I wasn't feeling 100% about a couple of months ago, and so I wasn't, able to post on YouTube. And so, but here I am today, and there's a lot of news to give you, brothers and sisters. Sadly, we lost reggae legend Dobby Dobson. The 21st of July of 2020, he passed away. The cause of death is reported as the after effects of coronavirus, which has claimed many lives this year. Bob Andy and so many others. I believe Betty White passed away with the after effects of coronavirus. Little Richard passed away. We had Daryl Washington, who passed away with the after effects of the coronavirus as well. And so it's claimed the life of many entertainer and many people in general. And even I've got friends who passed away from coronavirus, and it's been one of the worst years that I can remember. They reckon it's one of the worst years since around 1918, which is just over 100 years ago. And so it's so sad to report the sad loss. He was 78 years of age, Dobby Dobson. His big hit was Loving Pauper, which he did for Drew Creed in the Rocksteady period of 1967. It was also #1 selling song, Loving Pauper. It's been, often covered by many great reggae singers, most notably Gregory Isaacs and Rudy Thomas, Loving Pauper. But his career started all the way back in the 1950s, in the late 1950s, as a teenager. He had a singing partner by the name of Chuck, and there were a duo by the name of Chuck and Dobby. So he was one half of a duo of Chuck and Dobby, which scored many sentimental love song hits in the 1950s, most notably for Drew Creed, who was one of the most prominent producers of that time, and also for Cox on Dodd. So the two most prominent producers in Jamaican music history, Drew Creed and Cox on Dodd, produced Chuck and Dobby in the hits of the late 50s and early 1960s. Then he broke away from Chuck, and then he went to Drew Creed, and he sang Loving Pauper. But before he sang Loving Pauper for Drew Creed, he was singing for a plethora of local producers. I believe he also sung for the likes of King Edwards as well, and so on. And Dobby Dobson also set up a label, his own music label, and produced local artists in Jamaica. He was a heart fob for the ladies in the 1960s, in the late 50s, early 60s, when he was with Chuck as a duo. One of the big hits was Cool School. But yes, the ladies liked, Dobby Dobson. He was always, well presented, well dressed, looking sharp and smart. And he used to sing in some of the hotels in and around the island. He would tour with Chuck as well. And when he became a solo singer, he would still tour. Then he eventually went to America, toured in America. He's been over to the UK and sung in like elders, shows and revival shows, oldie shows as they're normally referred to. And in 1970, he scored probably the biggest hit he ever had with that wonderful sound. In actual fact, it wasn't 19. I've seen reports that it being 1970, and I've seen other reports of it being 1972. So I'm going for 1970 because I saw 1970 first. But it could have been that he recorded a song in 1970 and it became a hit in 1972. But it was a #1 hit for Dobby Dobson, produced by a very personal friend of mine, Mr. Rupert Edwards, who's still a living legend. And that wonderful sound was also remarkable because it shifted over 50,000 units in Jamaica alone, and that propelled it to the #1 position in both the JBC charts and the RJR charts. It sold also in huge quantities in other parts of the Caribbean as well, and over here in the UK. I also heard that it sold quite well in America. So that was a monster hit for both producer Rupert Edwards and of course singer Dobby Dobson. He also scored a classic cover of Brook Benton's Endlessly. That's also from around 1970 as well. Endlessly was a classic song, and that wonderful sound, I remember hearing that song for the very first time, even though it was done in 1970. I remember first hearing that song in 1985 at a friend's party, And that song was played on a regular basis at this particular friend's house. We used to visit this friend's house in Tottenham, and this friend will always have this song on a tape and a cassette. That wonderful sound, and that's the first time I heard that song. But of course, that was done 15 years prior to when I heard it. And so it's a sad loss that we lost Dobby Dobson. A very, we're known as a gentleman within the industry, a guy that always has dignity, always well presented, well dressed. He's a crooner, because a lot of the songs he sings are crooning style. You can jump into the Facebook, so you could jump onto YouTube and just type in Dobby Dobson, and it's a list of songs as long as anyone's on will come up. And those classic songs are just so infectious and contagious. You just want to listen to them all the time. And so I'll urge you all to go onto YouTube and just type in Dobby Dobson and listen to those songs. Don't Make Me Over was another song he did for Rupert Edwards. Don't Make Me Over, now that I found you. A classic song for Rupert Edwards. And he's had so many other classics, and some of them don't quite come to me at this moment in time, but those are the songs I could read. But the 1967 song for Duke Reid, Loving Pauper, was written by him, but he was co-written with another person, and he became known as the Loving Pauper because that song was such a big song, was such a big hit for him, that he became known. It became synonymous with the title. So a lot of people refer to him as the Loving Pauper. Oh, you mean Dobby Dobson? Yeah, that's what I mean. So it became synonymous with the actual title of the song itself. And so it's a sad loss, because we're losing a lot of our legends, a lot of our stalwarts in the industry. Dobby Dobson's one of the latest of a long list of people we lost this year, and so we say salute to Dobby Dobson and his many fans around the world, because he's a very, very popular artist. And even the people who were following him in the late 50s and the 60s and the 70s, some of them are still alive today, and they still revere him as one of the greats of Jamaican music. And he's got some new legions of fans who are just getting into revival Jamaican classic music, and they like him, they like his voice, they like the material that he writes, and so on. And so we'll say, rest well the great Loving Pauper himself, Mr. Dobby Dobson, who died at the age of 78 through coronavirus in Florida, not in Jamaica, in Florida, at the age of 78. So we say thank you, Chrissy B. I've got to go and do some cooking, so I'll come on here another time and we'll speak some more about some other issues, and say welcome back. We'll say apologies that we've not been around for a few months, but we're back now, and we say salute. So peace and blessings, honour to the great Sir Dobby Dobson. Peace out.